Welcome to the Feel Better, Live Better podcast. Our goal is to provide you insightful conversations about all things health and wellness. We dive into the stories, science, strategies that help you optimize your well-being, physically, mental, and emotional health. Each episode features engaging discussions with health experts, real-life success stories, and practical advice to empower you on your wellness journey. Whether we're breaking down the latest medical advancements, exploring holistic health solutions, or chatting about everyday habits that make a difference, our goal is simple: to help you feel better and live better. Tune in for inspiring narratives, expert consultations, candid conversations that bring health to life, one talk at a time.
If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all of our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. See the show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading news.
Hi, I'm Kristi Fury, your host of the Feel Better, Live Better podcast. Today, I have Jose and Lawrence, the founders and owner of the ThermoLab, with the newest technology with cold plunges and saunas.
Beyond Health is dedicated to helping patients achieve a life of health. Our passion at Beyond Health is transforming your health so you can live the very best life. Beyond Health can be your partner in your journey to optimal health.
Good morning. I'm so excited to have Lawrence and Jose today as my guests. They are the founders and owners of the ThermoLab, one of Albuquerque's newest sauna and cold plunge facilities. Today, my goal is to give the listeners some particular tips on how to use sauna, cold plunge therapy, and also explain the longevity benefits from a mental and physical perspective. So why don't the two of you guys kind of introduce yourself and tell me how the ThermoLab got started and kind of what the inspiration behind it?
Sure. Well, thanks, Kristi, for having us on board here, a guest for the podcast again. This is awesome. Lawrence Herrera is my name. I'm the founder of the Performance Ranch, and this is in addition to the Performance Ranch. It's another tool that we have found that just working on the mind and working on being calm and present is really what it led me to develop this project with Jose here helping me. He guided me a couple years ago into getting a cold plunge for my house, and it started with a Rubbermaid stock tank in the backyard and breaking ice to a shipping container now that has 3 tubs that are variable temperature and controlled, and an 8-person sauna. So it's evolved a lot, but for me, what I have seen is just the change of how everything is with cold plunge. My ability to relax, my ability to speak more clear, my ability to not get angry on the road. Like a lot of things happen as I started using this thing, because one of the biggest fears I had as a kid was cold water. And I started to think back to times of why it was because I got thrown into the waterfalls one time in Nambe, in the reservation where I grew up at. And that was why when I was a little kid. So I tried to flash back why I was a little guy. So ever since then, I've been kind of fearful of it, and I went to the Navy, couldn't swim. So it's all led to this. Yeah. But yeah, that's where it's at. So it's a long story, but.
Yeah. Well, Kristi, thanks for
You're
having
welcome.
us. I'm excited to be able to share what we're doing at ThermoLab. My name's Jose Maresma. I've been a clinical exercise physiologist for 35 years. My practice is pretty broad, and I've done it a long time, so it's evolved. And I started working at places like the Olympic Training Center with the NFL on the physical aspects of performance, but I've moved more into the sports psychology and even transformed into well-being and preventative medicine. So I work with aging, dementia prevention, metabolic disease, those kinds of things, but I still work with Olympic athletes. In fact, just the last 2 days, I've worked with Olympians that have gold, silver, and medal, so it's
Very
a lot
good.
of fun. And really, the ThermoLab came out of that kind of curiosity that I have to understand how we do better. Hardest game we play is life, so how we show up has a physical and psychological aspect, an emotional aspect. And I got tapped into studies on sauna originally 20 years ago, because these studies are pretty old and there are a lot of new ones coming out right now, and you see it kind of in the zeitgeist now with guys like Joe Rogan talking about it. And so hopefully we can kind of demystify what this is and see how it actually can benefit the average person and somebody that's trying to achieve more, whether it's in business or in sport, doesn't matter. So that's our goal, is that we want to share what we're doing there and why it's going to be different at Performance Ranch or at the ThermoLab, because we actually are going to teach you, support you, so that you can use this tool properly for your goals and needs.
Yeah. So, Jose, a question for you. What makes sauna and cold plunge such a powerful tool in the world of performance, recovery, longevity? And I know that's a very
it's broad, but that's cool. I like broad.
Yeah, I like so. Because I really want our viewers to, I hope through this podcast that we can really give them some tools that either they can hopefully come sign up for a program with you guys at ThermoLab, or also just to do it better at home.
Yeah, fantastic. I think we can do that.
Okay.
So why is this good for you? So we're physical creatures, right? We're animals, and we live in a modern world, and a lot of our suffering comes from that, whether it's our, sedentary lifestyles or even just kind of our everyday way of living. A lot of distraction, but we have biological mechanisms that are designed to engage the environment. Right. And when we do that, we actually optimize or we level up our physiology, because our bodies are designed to survive and actually adapt to meet challenges. One of the things that's happened in modernity is we have climate-controlled environments. So we're pretty comfortable all the time, and there's no growth in discomfort. And if we start looking at some of the research and data, how this impacts us in health, we go to the original studies that were done in Scandinavia and Russia on sauna. And these are traditions, social traditions that are thousands of years old. But in these studies, some interesting stuff started to show up. So one is people that sauna with consistency over time. For example, it's been shown that they die from all-cause. So all-cause mortality from whatever it is, about 40% less.
Correct.
Right, and this is dose dependent, meaning the more often you do it, you actually get more of a benefit. Correct. And again, not that more is always better, it's that they do it in a particular way, if that makes sense. So for example, a threshold amount of sauna exposure to get the majority of that kind of benefit, and I'll explain why you're getting these benefits and why you're not getting them in modern living, is about, they've got it down to 57 minutes, so 3 19-minute sessions a week.
Total for the
total for a week. So in a 7-day period, if you went to the sauna, you got in a sauna about 175 degrees. All right, and here I want to dispel a myth, or again clarify a little bit about what kind of sauna is better for you. So we're talking about Finnish sauna. That's what they call it. Could be Swedish sauna or Russian sauna. It's the same thing. These are dry, hot saunas that force your body's core temperature up. Right? So uncomfortable. These are not infrared saunas, because infrared sauna does not do that. I will give a nod to infrared sauna because there are benefits. Infrared light, again, another modernity thing. We don't go out in the sun as much. We're afraid of all kinds of things. But that's actually more natural and very important. So you get benefits from infrared sauna. But if you're looking for the ones we're talking about, it has to be a Finnish or Swedish style sauna, which is core temperature goes up. And the threshold temperature is about 175 degrees. Like we will often run it at 190 degrees, and then there are some reasons to do that, a little bit more of a challenge to the body physically and mentally. But if you're somebody that's starting out, 175 degrees is tolerable, and you might spend, 9 minutes and then come out, recover a little bit, and then do another, 9 minutes or so.
So is that 175 for male and female?
Male and female, yeah.
And then just to clarify, 19 minutes, 3 times a week.
3 times a week, and then you start seeing these benefits. And what's cool about these benefits, they were done on huge populations. Almost 1 million people followed for over 20 years. So these are high quality studies. They're giving us a lot of information on why this might be valuable. And some of the benefits really is that, so when we're exposed to heat, our body has an adaptive response to it because it's a challenge. It thinks it's going to die, right? This is super hot. I got to get out of this situation, because heat stroke's real, folks. But what we're doing is we're applying a dose in a controlled, safe way, if that makes sense. So we expose you to heat, and your body actually starts responding. One of the things it does is we get vasodilation. So your entire circulatory system opens up because it wants to dissipate heat.
Yeah.
That's like exercise for your vascular system. And they're finding that actually benefits your heart. In fact, if you're sitting in a sauna about 175 degrees, you're getting what's called zone 2 training. So a moderate cardiovascular exercise benefit.
Yeah.
And so we all know that exercise is good for us and it's challenge. Same thing, you're getting it in the sauna. When we get that vasodilation, it's also helping with the elasticity of the arteries. So hardening of the arteries, elasticity of the arteries. We want elastic arteries. And so it helps with that. And to help support the elasticity and the efficiency of the body, your body produces things like heat shock proteins. Which are anti-inflammatory. The other benefits that have been, and this has evolved over time, these weren't known in the older studies, but now we see when we get out of the sauna a little bit later, our gut starts producing more serotonin, right? So serotonin, right, this is a hormone that affects our mood, and it really makes us feel a little bit more settled, calm, belonging. These are the kind of things that are associated. In fact, for depression, you know, most of the pharmaceutical drugs that are used are SSRIs, serotonin, right? Serotonin, they're trying to stimulate these sensors. You get that from sauna. So we're seeing some pretty elegant studies showing that people with depression, even clinical treatment-resistant depression, that they're getting benefits and relief. And I mean, I won't go on and on, but it's because I can go on.
So I do want to, because that was one of my, as far as the cardiovascular system, I think you did a wonderful job explaining the cardiovascular, the benefits of that. But let's go down from a detoxification. You touched a little bit on the circulation, but
so
I want to
you want to talk about detox?
A little, not, but yes. And then detox, and then also the metabolic rate.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit.
And then again, you did a wonderful job, because I really wanted our listeners to understand the cardiovascular. Even people with known heart disease, I think that's...
You find benefit in those people. As long as you're cleared by your doctor,
100%.
Right? We always want that. We want to be safe. But if they say, hey, this is cool, and typically if you can exercise, you can actually do sauna. And that touches back on that all-cause mortality thing. You know, for all causes, about 40% about 51% reduction in all cardiovascular events or mortality from heart disease. So that's significant. It's huge. There is no pill. There is no drug that actually does that.
The number one killer.
Number one killer. So if you think in those terms, this is pretty inexpensive because there aren't any side effects from this either. And so whether you're thinking about prevention, you're concerned about heart disease, or you've even had, you know, diagnosis of heart disease, there's a benefit across the board in this. So we want to talk about a little bit about metabolism, or let's talk about detox just very quickly. So your body, you know, you hear about these detox diets and blah, 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 blah. Your body's always detoxing because, one, we make metabolic waste. When our body's physiology is making energy and so forth, and digestion, all the things, muscle contraction, we make waste products. And our body cleans them out through the endocrine system, right? And when we sauna, we actually start sweating. And sweating is a way your body naturally detoxes. And it's one of the best ways to get rid of that waste a little bit quicker. Not to mention we have environmental waste. I'm ingesting microplastics right now. Okay. But it's been seen. It actually releases things, or heavy metals. These are things we're exposed to. They're everywhere.
You can't avoid
and
them.
they do have an impact in our health. And so it's much easier to remove them, and we're helping our body's natural systems to actually do it. So I thought that was important. The other thing is our heating and cooling systems, they're really not redundant. They run through similar pathways. And metabolism is the energy that we use to do it. So it does stimulate metabolic function. And that comes down to mitochondria. So in every cell in your body, if you guys remember high school biology, we have these little organelles. They look like a kidney bean, kind of. And they literally make the currency, which is called ATP of life. It's energy. It's like the fuel that we use. And every major disease that we're worried about, whether it's heart disease, dementia, cancer even, these are all metabolically rooted diseases. And so when we do heat and cold stimulation, we're actually challenging the mitochondria to produce energy for the processes that are involved. And cold has a little bit different effects, which we'll talk about. But what happens is the mitochondria are asked to work, and if they don't if they're doing their job, great. If they're not, they'll either get repaired or they'll get broken down through a mechanism called apoptosis, and your body turns them into proteins, and then it will actually trigger something called mitochondrial biogenesis, so new mitochondria. That's a byproduct of exercise as well. What does this mean for you? It actually improves cognitive health, physical health, energy, mood. All these things are happening from these fluctuations in temperatures, which we don't get, right? So again, like being sedentary, we also need to challenge ourselves through thermal exercise.
So what's the concern, I think, and I would assume you guys so fasting is the new fad. Everybody's doing it, right? And I think there's a place and there's a place not to do it. I think we all... But so if a viewer is fasting, what are the concerns of sauna?
So what are the concerns?
Or is there, I guess?
So again, if you're new to fasting or you're fasting, what some of the biggest early kind of issues?
Or would you want to do a sauna on a long fast?
You could. You could. So absolutely. In fact, some people do that intentionally in a process trying to heal their bodies. For example, if they have some disease process, or even if you're just trying to get leaner. But what happens is often people we're not very flexible, metabolically flexible, right? And fasting is one way we can actually improve
with
metabolic
the
flexibility. Because your body makes its own fuel.
The ATP.
And so we make gluconeogenesis. And when we fast, that can actually rev up our systems, and we don't get the blood sugar crashes that are typical when we're not eating, and then we're chasing food all day long, and we're kind of feeling crazy. But one of the things that can happen is it could affect your blood pressure, low blood pressure, or you could have lower glucose levels, which can make you feel dizzy. So those are kind of the things that you would look out for.
So just common sense.
Just common sense. If you feel dizzy, get out. You know, have somebody help you if you're new to it, and then go short bouts, like 5 minutes. Then work your way up to 10, and you can work your way up to 20 minutes.
So would someone, is it better to start with the time target or to start with the temperature target?
Combo.
Okay.
Yeah. So 175 threshold temperature, because that's enough heat to actually elicit this response. If you're at 165, you're really not going to get that kind of response.
So like maybe 3 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm just
you
getting
could do
5 minutes,
3,
whatever.
5.
Okay.
Again, this is not a competition. It's self-exploration and using common sense to build your tolerance up. Because it'll be uncomfortable for most people if you're not used to it. So I think it's fine if you're doing it when you're fasting. Just be, cautious about it. Be mindful about it.
I think you touched on the mental health aspect. But, let's also briefly kind of go over how sauna can support stress reduction and mood. I think so many of our viewers, stress, life, just living here in this world right now, everybody, the stress degree has been ramped up, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So briefly, again, you touched on that, but maybe a little bit more as far as what the heat is really doing as far as managing that stress.
Yeah, so that serotonin kind of dump really helps. Plus, heat and the cold shock proteins and some of the other kind of metabolic changes that occur in the body, it really does support and promote that sense of ease. Real typical that people that sauna regularly feel or report a better sense of ease, less activation and stress, and kind of a calming effect. And it, so it's physiological, and then obviously it's psychological. And so it feels better. Warmth actually helps us feel a little bit. And having the blood circulate, when you get this vasodilation, you're actually getting more blood out to the brain. You're getting it out to your fingertips and your toes and all those things, so you get better circulation, better oxygenation. All these things together work to give you the effect. It's not one thing, it's all the things. It's kind of the systemic effect, if that makes sense.
So let's move to cold plunge.
Yeah.
So for listeners who are new to cold therapy, what is actually happening inside the body during a cold plunge?
Okay, so cold plunge, a lot of fun here. And I'll mention this.
I think people are more fearful, just like, Lawrence, that I feel like I know you well. And, I didn't ever know that was a source. So I think people struggle with the concept of cold plunge. So what is it actually doing?
It's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
So nobody, like in their right mind, wants to go sit in a tub of freezing cold water. We do it. It's fun. Like Lawrence was sharing a story, gets tossed in there. It's shocking.
Yeah.
All those things. But that's some of what happens when you go into cold water. Your body is again responding. There's a signal that says you're going to die. Get out of it.
Yeah.
Right. And so we often go into a story and there's a little panic. There's a byproduct to those thoughts is that we actually have a very powerful physiological response to activate you into action. Right. So we dump a bunch of stuff. One would be catecholamines, hormones. So we're dumping things like epinephrine and norepinephrine. This is adrenaline. Norepinephrine goes into the brain. It actually lights your brain up. It becomes more focused and more active, right? But what happens when you get into the cold plunge, your body's trying to protect itself, so it shunts. Everybody knows what that feels like. You go outside and your fingers get cold first. Your body's pushing the blood towards the core to protect your organs. And then we shiver, right? We start shivering, and that's involuntary muscle contraction, which creates heat, and you're using ATP to run that. And there's a third level that was discovered pretty recently, like in the science world, and it's called cold thermogenesis. And if you can imagine all those little mitochondria in every cell in your body start doing basically what you do when you're warming up your car. Now it's winter, been warming up the cars in the morning, it idles. So they idle and they start making energy to just create heat. In fact, when you get into the cold plunge, if you don't, like ours circulate water so that you don't get a thermal layer. Your body makes so much heat that you will change the temperature around your body 1 to 2 degrees easily, and you'll feel it to protect itself. So what's cool about that is that now you've really ramped up your metabolism. For metabolic benefits, cold is incredibly powerful. Same thing's going on. The mitochondria are asked to work. If they're doing fine, great. If they're not, they'll get repaired. And if not, you'll actually trigger mitochondrial biogenesis in a big way. This also pushes more flexibility. We're better at using energy. So our metabolic rate, our basal metabolic rate will actually start to go up. Your body will also start creating something called brown fat, right, or BAT, beige, adipose tissue is what it's called. And so when a child is born, they have a lot of brown fat. And that's because they don't sweat. And it's harder for a baby to regulate their heat. They need to get a little bit older. As we age, what the norm is that we see that goes down. I propose that's not normal. If we're actually going outside, chopping wood, hauling water, doing those things, and then getting hot in the summer, we would actually maintain more brown fat. The benefit of brown fat, it's associated with all kinds of health benefits, like from dementia prevention, cancer prevention, heart disease prevention. And all brown fat is adipose tissue, typically a lot of in the back and different parts of your body. It just has more mitochondria in it. That's why it looks brown or under a microscope. So, and what's cool is that fat isn't used for energy. It's actually maintained in the body. It also, because of these extreme kind of challenges, it taps into stored body fat. So we're actually seeing body fat reduction for people that are actually,
the cells are actually shrinking.
They're shrinking because the mitochondria is tapping right into those fuel sources and converting that into ATP very fast. And really interesting studies like for diabetics, type 2 diabetics, not type 1. There's a difference. We can go into that story, but type 2, that they're actually seeing improvement in their A1C and their glucose, their fasting glucose. So we're actually seeing reversal of metabolic disease. We're also seeing that benefit in dementia. A study that was done, and it was done in Great Britain. It published in the European Journal of Applied Exercise Physiology. Did a study where they had these cold plungers that jump in the Thames River, and they're all ages, all body types. And when they compared them to peers, what they saw is they had about an 80+% lower rate of dementia. And they really attributed it to the nervous system benefits and to the metabolic benefits from them jumping, as a social event into this cold water. They also attached the social connection part as probably being an influencer in this benefit. But what is it saying is like all these changes happen that are so pro-health and alertness. And you mentioned things like dopamine. So dopamine, like that's our go, right? Go.
Well, and that was my next was, I think I want the viewers that, the immune health, the inflammation it's improving. You did a great job with the metabolic rate. But, someone that, say, a lot of people think COVID is over, but it's far from over. It will never be over,
It's
right?
endemic, yeah.
It's going to stay. But it's cold plunge is absolutely a therapy that can be used. Someone that is dealing with long hauler COVID or just got COVID again.
Sure.
As far as it is a quick way, it is something I recommend my patients at Beyond Health of start taking cold showers, and we'll go into that to see if that's even been, but anything as far as to shock that system to kind of reset that metabolic rate from an inflammation.
Yeah, so all those things,
Yeah.
right? Everything you just said. So we have so we also produce, so we had heat shock proteins in sauna. We have something called cold shock proteins in cold, and these are anti-inflammatory. We see an upregulation with both modalities of immune function, so more efficient, T cells. White blood cells. They're actually, you get a dip initially, and then there's this rebound, and it upregulates it. And circulation, so the detoxing. So if you're talking about spike protein running through your body, it's a great way to actually get it out.
No, it's huge.
Yeah, and so I agree with
cheap.
you 100%. And it is cheap.
It's
like
so
really
much
low
cheaper
to no
than going
cost.
to Ozone or Ebu and getting your spike proteins, try to get them removed, where actually cold therapy is
pretty effective.
proven. It's pretty effective.
Yeah, and so all those things are happening. So you're seeing it improve, and it's kind of counterintuitive. Your mom told you to put your jacket on because you're going to get cold.
Yeah.
Actually, a little cold is going to
Is
probably protect you a little bit better from
Yeah.
from environmental kind of challenges.
How long does that dopamine effect last in the body?
So hours.
Okay.
So when we look at our phones, we get dopamine. It's part of the cycle of habituation. You can call it addiction, but it's just habits, right? And so
But is it the
that's
same
a
for cold
chasing.
therapy?
It isn't. Cold
Okay.
therapy is very different.
Correct.
Meaning when you get this dopamine pump, and there's kind of debate on how much. So let's say 200 is pretty standard, that people say you get 200 times your normal dopamine levels.
From a cold plunge.
From a cold plunge.
Okay, I just went.
In some studies, they're saying up to 400 times your normal dopamine. But anyway, 200 times
Whatever.
your normal dopamine is amazing. Again, your brain, you release norepinephrine, which lights up your brain. So that's going to improve your focus, your attention. So is the dopamine. It's going to make you want to go. It's actually
clarity,
get
the
stuff
movement.
done. And instead of getting just this little hit, you actually get a sustained elevated dopamine level for up to 4 to 5 hours afterwards. And then that's the high peak. And then you see a trail, but you get the benefit for days. In fact, people that do come cold plunge, they're often, and I get engineers at Sandia, they're like, I was just so motivated this week after that one session for 3-4 days. I really felt like I got a lot of work done. I was a little bit more focused, a lot more clarity. I was just a little calmer. It really feels good, right? These changes in the rebound make you feel good. So it's super powerful.
So how often does a person need a cold plunge?
Okay, so again, these studies, and
Yep.
Dr. Susanna Soberg she calls herself the thermalist. She did her PhD in Europe.
Okay.
She's got it down to the 57 minutes for sauna, 11 minutes a week for cold plunge.
Okay.
Okay, and there's some caveats there, but about 11 minutes of exposure total.
Male and female?
Male and female, yes. So, but how do we dose it? Because we got to accept that male physiology and female physiology are very different. We bow down to women, you make human beings.
Yeah.
Women tend to be more thermally sensitive because, like, women tend to have colder hands because they shunt faster. They respond better. Men historically were out hunting, fighting.
Their fight or flight's a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little different. And so our little physiology is a little bit different. And so we want to be careful for women because a lot of women, and when I started doing this 13 years ago is when I started actually using this with clients. And we did it the same. And I had women in, and they can handle it. They're tough. They're mentally tougher than men. But I was doing a disservice because we were actually probably putting them in a stress state, right? Because when women are exposed to cold for extended periods of time or too much cold, it can actually trigger excess cortisol and so forth. And so we can deplete their system. So women do very well, and the threshold temperature for cold to elicit a cold shock is 60 degrees.
Okay.
But at 60 degrees, 60 degrees is uncomfortable, but not crazy.
Okay.
And for women, the recommendation's probably 1 to 3 minutes.
For totaling up to the 11 minutes.
Yeah,
a week.
totaling and about. Yeah, so you could do it over the week. You could do 3 minutes, and you could do more bouts and that kind of thing.
Is it beneficial if you just do 11 minutes all at once?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it that way.
Okay.
Anyway, because you kind of tap out the benefits about 3 minutes.
Okay. So
Yeah,
3 minutes
you max
max.
it out, and that's good. And a lot of people do it longer. That could be an exercise in will and just focus. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about. When we do cold plunge, we also start changing regions of the brain. So there's something called the dorsal cingulate, and a region in that brain is associated to our motivation. And it's like when you do things that you don't want to do, like which we all have to do. I've got to clean the dog poop in the backyard. I don't want to do it, but you do it. It actually strengthens that part of our brain. And cold plunge has been shown to actually do it really well. And so I wanted to touch on that because people are looking to maybe habit change and so forth.
Yeah.
It could be a way to support that. If that makes sense. But for women, we want to do lower, like 55 at the ThermoLab. We have a
So
55
not
tub.
60. So 55.
55. Yes.
Okay.
60 is the threshold. We want it a little bit colder because we do want to shock.
Okay.
Right? And we have 3 tubs. One's 55, one's going to be in the mid 40s. The other one is sub 40, which is very cold. And again, we want people to have the options to work with it for whatever goal. Like athletes, I like putting them in a 38-degree tub because they're used to a lot of mental pressure. And to regulate yourself, we add breath work. We teach you how to actually self-regulate. Relaxing the muscles, noticing the body. These are techniques that we teach you so that you can use this tool more effectively. Good thing to do there. But for women, that 55 degrees, do a minute, and then hit the sauna. And I know we were going to talk a little bit about what contrast theory is. Because when we do heat, vasodilation. When we do cold, vasoconstriction. So now you're doing open, close, open, close, elasticity. Right? The ability for your circulatory system to work better. And then we're also getting all these other wonderful benefits. Chemically, we're changing the internal environment.
So for males, what is so 11 minutes, but what is the degrees that you,
so
again, I understand the athlete, but just like the average
so the
person.
average guy, I'm like, let's get in that mid tub. Let's challenge yourself a little bit. Yeah, 45, 47 degrees, somewhere in there. And that's cold. Like I have a cold plunge at home, and we keep it because my wife uses it, my daughter uses it, who's 12. And we keep it at about 47 degrees. So everybody gets the benefit, and we're actually experienced. So right, there's value there. But for the males, and I like to work them up to, it might be 30 seconds to begin with, but we work towards 3 minutes.
So people that have like circulating problems, Raynaud's, whatever it might be, if they have to wear the booties and the gloves, still beneficial?
Absolutely, and we've actually seen improvement in circulation and sensitivity in patients like that. By doing the exposure, you can actually see a benefit. And they get a little bit better circulation and less, and that's circulatory as well as nervous system stuff.
Okay, very good. So let's go. So now I want to kind of talk about the protocols you guys have at ThermoLab, right? The combination. So that was interesting to me. So let's first talk about females. So as far as I would assume, let's do one working out and one that's just someone that wants to get their day started right.
Okay.
So let's first start about working out. What is the best therapy if someone is coming in to work out or is...
Okay, so you could do sauna before or after exercise. There are going to be benefits. So it's like warming yourself up. So you're going to get more flexibility. So even with Parkinson's patients, just side note, we actually see improvement in like the stiffness that they may feel. So the muscles are warm, right? They're heated up, and so that's great benefit before exercise. When we do cold plunge, and we would want to do it before exercise, right? And I'll explain why you don't do it after exercise, because we did that forever.
Well, I think it's a misconception.
It is a misconception.
That I want for
it's
sure
been clarified. What you're going to do is get all the biological changes and so forth, and then you get this rebound where you see an increase in growth hormone and testosterone. And you bring that into your workout, and those are environmental, body environment, things that are going to promote better recovery, greater strength, more focus, more motivation. So it really charges you up. So cold, hot, you can do some contrast therapy. You could just do cold plunge. You could do just sauna.
Okay.
It's really up to the individual what they're looking to do.
Okay.
Now, we will give you protocols and say, hey, we're going to do 10-minute sauna, we're going to do a 1-minute cold plunge, we're going to contrast 3 times, then you're going to go work out.
Okay. Okay.
That might be an example.
Okay.
Just depending on the individual. And then post-exercise, absolutely sauna. It's going to help with blood flow and bringing nutrients to all the tissue. It's going to make you feel a little better. You are going to get somewhat of an anti-inflammatory response because of the heat shock proteins, but it's not going to blunt your training effect. What people would do is often train and then hit the cold. And recent studies show that it can blunt
the muscle development.
By 83%.
Yeah, it's huge.
So
huge.
you're literally giving away all the benefits of your training.
All your work. Yeah.
And now the recommendation is at least 8 hours. You got to wait at least 8 hours. You want inflammation because inflammation is part of the recovery part. It's part of rebuilding the tissue.
Okay.
But even now, like for high caliber professional athletes, they're waiting till next day.
Okay.
And that's really important.
And then how about someone that just, your type A personality, business owner, high stress individual that has a sauna and a cold plunge at home?
Yeah.
What would you say if you were to say, okay, Kristi, if you were telling me what to do?
Okay, so Kristi, you're going to wake up, you're going to meditate, you're going to do some breath work. You're going to walk right into the cold plunge and you're going to hit it for 3 minutes. And I would say that for you because you're fit, you know what's coming.
Yeah.
3 minutes, hop into the sauna and do 20.
Okay.
And that could be enough of a protocol, like a morning protocol. Again, if you're looking at time, and so you've got 25 minutes.
Would you want to split them? Would you do sauna so I struggle with sleep sometimes, especially when I need to shut my brain down.
Yeah.
Would I benefit more from doing cold in the morning and then sauna at night?
Yeah, so you'll get some benefits. You have all this dopamine, then you're going to get some of the serotonin, but in the evening, heat's ideal.
Okay.
Not that you can't do a very short cold plunge because there's some evidence, and anecdotal too. I do that sometimes. But heat is really nice for sleep because one of the rebound effects from heating your core up is your body's going to cool itself. And so to go to sleep, you need to drop body temp between 1 and 3 degrees. And so like warm bath, people have done that forever. So a little sauna, you're going to get some of that serotonin increased, which actually feels very calming, and it's going to help with sleep.
Okay. So then let's talk about, someone that doesn't have access to a cold plunge. Is there benefits in a cold shower?
Yeah, there are.
Okay.
You can. It's not the same, and now they've
I don't even know
some,
what is the degrees of a cold. I should have looked that up.
In the winter, I think you can get some 40-degree
cold,
temperatures, 40 something.
Okay.
Which is plenty cold. Except it's almost more annoying. It's just so much easier to submerge yourself because you're getting hit by cold here, and then you're having to turn around. So it's a mental exercise. They did some studies recently that showed you don't get the same cold shock effect.
Okay.
And with that said, I absolutely know that it's beneficial. So taking a cold shower, starting with 30 seconds, working your way up to a minute. This is a way that you can do it at home.
And I think another thing I want to clarify. So a lot of my patients are like, well, I have a hot tub. Can I use that instead of a sauna? But you're not getting so, okay, maybe I'm wrong. You're not getting the as much detoxification.
No, not at all.
And so that's why I says if you guys go get on a sauna versus go getting in the hot tub.
Yeah, so the nuances. Yes, you can raise your temperature, your core temperature. You're probably not going to get it above 175. I mean, meaning the external.
Yep.
So it's just not quite the same.
Okay.
But I'd say if you have that at home, use that. Raising that temperature. There are some good, again, smaller studies that show that you could put a hoodie on in a hot summer day and go for a run, and you're going to raise your core temperature, and it's similar to sauna.
Okay.
But in a hot tub, I haven't seen the evidence, and I know you're not going to get that hot in there. It wouldn't be fun, right?
It wouldn't be fun.
Why would you
do it?
Yeah, I want to relax in the hot tub.
So you touched a bit on the breath work, and I know, Lawrence, you guys are huge on this at Performance Ranch, and the mindfulness. So is that like box breathing before you get into the cold plunge? Expand a little bit on that.
So all the above.
Because I suck at meditation.
Do you? Yeah.
I suck.
Okay,
and I hate when Lawrence makes me, I'm just like, really, dude? But I know I need to do it.
If you ever want to talk about that, I'd be happy to come back.
I understand I need to be doing it.
So I'm a trained meditation teacher. This is one of the tools I picked up because of what I do. And I use it with every athlete. I work with Tier 1 military. I work with all over the state fire department.
Yep.
our breathing patterns regulate what's called the excitability of your brain, right? And that we call that stress.
Yeah.
And stress is neither good or bad.
Correct.
It's just kind of an interpretation of what's going on and then our response to it. We can self-regulate using breathing, and it's a tool that's accessible to everyone because we all breathe, right? I hope everyone's breathing. But the volitional or intentional use of our breathing patterns can literally reduce respiration, heart rate, cortisol, and adrenaline.
Yeah.
And these are Stanford studies. 4 deep breaths, and you reduce all those biological markers. So it's a way that we can interrupt going into the anxiety phase, the really high stress overload. And so we teach that because what we're doing with hot and cold is creating a stressful environment. We want tools to regulate. And what's cool, these show up in your life. That's why I use it with athletes. It's not all these biological benefits. It produces a similar level of anxiety. So I have an Olympic athlete. He's a 2-time medalist, world record holder. He says, before I get in the cold plunge, I have the same level of anxiety that I do when I'm racing at the Olympics, for example. And so we can practice that anxiety and regulating it so he's in control, right, of his mind. But think about a business person, students. I work with a lot of med students that have a lot of anxiety, test anxiety. They're typically very type A, and they're anxious, and they're thinking about the score they're going to get instead of staying present. When we can learn techniques, breathing techniques, we can be more present. Or what is that? Right here, right now. And your life is right here, right now, instead of often thought, right? Often worry, often referencing stuff that's happened. So it could be anything that you said. So we could do traditional meditation practices, contemplative practices is what they're called. And I'm trained in something called mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is the clinical, developed at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center, but it comes from all the ancient practices. And so I always start people with just simple breathing patterns. And this may be a tip for the audience. A regulatory breath would be take a nice deep breath and then just let it out slower than you inhaled. So a longer
not
out
hold.
breath, not hold.
Okay.
Now we can play with holds, and that actually helps for other reasons. But this is tier 1. Like everyone can just, and we always breathe in through the nose because the nose is meant for breathing. And then the out breath through the mouth is just a technique that works really well.
So I've made myself adopt when I'm driving, I do the box breathing.
Okay.
So I'm trying. I'm aware it needs to happen, and I really do it on my way to work.
Yeah, that's great.
That's huge. Like
When I
sometimes I'll be honest, when I'm leaving work, I'm like, but it's an intentional because it's like a 12-minute drive to work every morning, and that's what I do.
Yeah, because that's a place that's anxiety provoking, right? And I used to, I'll admit it, it's a little slight road rage.
Yeah.
Lawrence has a good story about that one after I taught him some of these techniques. It regulates. It regulates. It just keeps us present, grounded, without flying off the handle. Because when we have thoughts or interpretations, we produce endocrine chemicals. Some of these cocktails are pro-health. Some of them are pro-anxiety and stress. So the breathing really helps regulate. And it's a practice, like a muscle. And what's funny is, like, I've been doing it for 13 years now. I got trained 13 years because I went to a class. It reduced some anxiety over a loss that I had. And I was like, this is unbelievable. And I've got to use it with my clients. And so... And my wife's been a meditator for 20, 30 years probably. And she's a psychologist, so she uses with her patients. It took me a while to get there. But things like box breathing. So we use like the sensory experience as an anchor. Box breathing includes counting and holding, right, our breath. And so you breathe in, real typical box breath, and they also call this combat breathing. As we breathe in for 4, hold for 4, release the breath for 4, hold for 4, and we breathe a box, right?
Exactly.
And so we're anchoring our attention or focus, and when we do that, it lets you let go of everything else, right?
Yeah, no, it does.
So we're focused, right? And so it's very simple because we're counting and we're breathing, and so we're noticing. And then things like holding our breath can help increase what's called CO2 tolerance. Right? Anytime that the oxygen CO2 balance changes in your brain specifically, we can feel anxious. And when people are stressed, they typically will shallow breathe or mouth breathe. and that will actually ramp up your anxiety. And we could do a whole thing on that. But mouth breathing is actually associated with increased cancer risk, dementia risk. Think of sleep apnea. We're deoxygenating the brain. We're raising CO2. That creates panic because your brain's going, I need oxygen or my cells are going to die. I teach it to firefighters, and they will actually prolong a 20-minute tank to 25 minutes because they're controlling their breathing. It also controls their anxiety and increases their focus, so they're better performing, if that makes sense. So I think box breathing's great.
It's
and
simple
they all
for
work.
me, and it takes me no time to explain to patients.
Yes.
And I tell them my story.
Yeah.
That
so
this
most
is what
powerful. Most
Yeah.
powerful story is our story. And universally, this is one of the most effective tools for stress reduction. And we're not talking about stress management. We're talking about reducing what we call stress, which is a chemical change in our body. And that affects your brain.
So what's the difference as we kind of start wrapping up a bit of someone, especially now in the world of everybody's into this longevity, which I kind of actually hate the word longevity, to be honest, because if you can't live well, what's the point of?
Lifespan.
But that's another. So, what's the benefit of someone coming into a controlled environment like the ThermoLab versus doing it at home? And not trying to get away people that have access to it at home.
No, not at all. And again, I wanted to qualify this as, I'm making it sound like this is the magic pill. There is no magic pill.
No, there is no magic pill. Other than exercise.
Other than exercise, I agree. If you put what's in exercise in a pill, it would
I
be
tell
magic.
people you could save a lot. It's not good for business for me at Beyond Health, but honestly, longevity or exercise is your biggest longevity hack.
It really is. It's one of the
you can't get away from it.
And for so many different reasons, but metabolic ones are one of those things. So if we want to talk about longevity and even just ThermoLab, here's what we're going to do. So I'm a professional coach, and I have been and Lawrence is a professional coach. Our motivation is to help people. I know that's yours. We want to see people thriving, to be better, to feel good.
To create life change.
Yeah, and aging, is often associated with decline and the breakdown and diseases. That's why some of these things are helpful. At ThermoLab, just like the coaches at the Performance Ranch, they're there to help you and guide you so that you don't have to stumble through this and figure it out. There's so much information out there. Like if you listen to Joe Rogan, and again, I love him.
Yeah, but
and you're going to say, I got to go hard every time, and that may not be true for all of us, right? So that you do it properly and that you actually get the benefits you're looking for. And we didn't get into, maybe women and reproductive health and all those things. If we wanted to try to, maybe in the editing, they could get it in there because I think that's really important. I'm married to a woman in menopause, right?
Yeah.
And we use these modalities because they really work. But for aging, getting back to these, when your metabolism is good, why exercise is the best thing for aging. Your metabolism is up, your mitochondria is working better. We have muscle mass, right? So this cold, hot therapy really supports that and actually amplifies those benefits are so good. David Sinclair at Harvard wrote a book, Why We Age. And he even touches on things like they've seen
ageless,
cold plunge. Ageless.
Ageless,
Cold plunge, for example, because of these changes and some of the protection of misfolding proteins, which is a byproduct of time and aging, that they've seen markers of aging actually slow down and or even go backwards.
Fusion fission,
and they even measured telomeres, so telomeres.
Whatever,
you
I
want to
say telomeres.
And Elizabeth Blackburn, I've been quoting that her research for 20 years. Won the Nobel Prize, right? So we can measure genetic aging, by these little caps on our DNA. They've even seen lengthening of telomeres because of these thermal. And it makes sense to me because if you're out in nature, humans are the only creatures that really have a long lifespan after reproduction because we survived on supporting one another and you needed grandma and grandpa hauling water, fighting, hunting. And so I think that's in the environment, and we maintained our biological body so that we can continue to contribute to the next generation. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%.
So knowing all that, we can come back and take advantage to increase our health span, slow what we call aging, because I've always said what we see as aging, there's a norm, but it's not normal for human beings. Right? We're sedentary, we're eating junk, we're overstressed. that we can actually move our needle back towards. I'm almost 59 years old. I can do more push-ups, pull-ups than most 20-year-olds. I can run faster than most of them, which is a shame because they should kick my ass.
No.
But I feel great in my body. I can move in my body, and it's because I practice these things, and I believe them. I know you do
and
too.
I think it's therapies like this that, no, we can't change the number of aging, but we can absolutely help you age to a younger self.
Age better. Age well, age more normally, like human beings. And it doesn't have to look like, dementia, decline, lack of mobility,
none of that stuff.
just being on 27 medications. It doesn't have to be that way.
So what makes your guys' there's tons of saunas and cold facilities here. What would you say makes your ThermoLab different than the rest of them?
So you want me to go?
And I think I have. It'll be interesting because
and then I'll pipe in on that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, the biggest thing came, the revolution came to, I wanted to put a cold plunge and a sauna there. We didn't have space inside our facility. Started talking to some people, and the stem of it was a shipping container. So we put it in there, and we brought it together because we really want to and have people work on all facets of health.
Of health.
Mental, physical, the reset, everything that we do. So that was the main thing. I wanted to bring it all together into one piece, to have it there and accessible, because it's hard to have a cold plunge at your house, ice bags in your bathtub and all. It just doesn't work. A sauna too, right? It's hard. So it's there, it's easy, it's accessible. We teach you how to use it. The tools are there.
Which I'll pipe in. I think that's one of the most important pieces.
No, exactly.
Your goal here was to demystify and help people get the. I mean, that's what you do in your practice. I want you to have the right information based on what we know now. Right. But that's a big one.
Yeah. I think definitely feel that having the routine and having the ability to use it, because for me it helped me. I saw it, I was experienced with it through him. There was all of that, just using it, and I was like, man, this thing really works. And now knowing that it really works, I want everybody else to have that access, and that's why we started it.
And not to mention that it's gorgeous. If you
beautiful.
haven't been in there, it's like we have a beautiful sauna, and we can fit 8 to 9 people. Although I had 12 middle school age kids in there the other day. We were doing it with youth athletes. That's something that we're offering, that we're going to do it for kids, because it really helps with anxiety. Kids are suffering with it. So we're doing all the things that help them, and they have a blast. It's more fun and play for them. The tubs are clean. We don't use harsh chemicals. We're actually using natural enzymes and other products that clean them. We have ozonators. I mean, it's a really nice space. It's super clean. It's easy to access. And we want to, your time's valuable. We want you to come in and get it done. And I've found in 35 years, like in the wellness side of it, is like you have to make things accessible and easy.
No, you have to give them access.
Yeah, you do. And you're more likely to follow through and take advantage of these really almost crazy benefits. Yeah. Like I said, not a magic pill. But that's, I think, a big piece. Plus, everybody at Performance Lounge, they're so welcoming. It's just we want to have you come down and enjoy the space. In fact, we're giving free sauna and cold plunges. Come down, like Lawrence said, experience it. Okay. Because to understand things, I found this is my meditation teacher, is you must experience something to actually see what it feels like. And we'll hold your hand. Don't worry. It's not as scary. Like I said, I had middle school kids in there. And at first they're a little trepidation, a little anxious, and they get in, and the second round they're like total pros. Yeah. It's not as bad as you think. And it's actually pretty fun. And you feel great afterwards. You can't buy that, right? I feel great.
So
sorry, real quick, to chime in on that. So, and the big thing too, I think the difference is we do it in a community. Yeah, like he just said, we did it in a group. Yeah. That's the biggest difference I noticed with a lot of the facilities that we've looked at here in town. And there's some great ones. There's some beautiful ones. But they're all solo and private type of spaces, and it's sometimes good to do that. But I feel having the tools and the power and bringing the community together, because this is something that's been done for thousands of years in a traditional setting, and it's still done. I mean, Finland has more saunas than houses are here, or something like that.
Yeah, it's something. But here, so Actually, I think that's a huge point because we are going to do social events where we actually do this in community. We may have some singles events. If you want to come meet people that are like-minded and adventurous, might be a cool thing to do. Or couples work, because my wife and I do a lot of couples work where we actually have done this with couples, and it's a bonding experience to do something hard, and you get excited, and you feel good, and you go have dinner. So we're going to do some of that stuff, and even all the other studies that are showing the physiological benefits, and I kind of touched on it in the one in England, is the social aspect of this has a huge impact on our well-being. In fact, social connection probably is the number one factor for happiness and kind of just quality of life. And so we want to promote that, and it is very traditional. If you go to Finland, the whole family saunas. Like he was saying, every house in Finland has a sauna. In Sweden, Norway, and in Russia too, they have the common bathhouses, banya. And in the studies, they said that social element is actually something that's probably greasing the health benefits that you're seeing. So we want to take advantage of that piece, and it's unique to our space that we can do that.
And I just think my own experience, so we ski a lot at Taos. We have a place at the ski valley, and in our condos, we actually have a cold plunge and a sauna. And I can tell you in the winters, like, not that I don't love to ski, I do, but I mentally, like, if I look back in my career, like when I'm just knocking out research or innovating the clinic or doing new things, looking back historically, it's kind of during the winter months when most people are actually more stagnant because of the, there's not as much sunlight.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's my story of it, personally.
I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But those are valuable
it's
because
huge.
these are real.
It's real.
It's your experience, and you're actually aware and conscious because how could this help my patients?
Can this help? Yeah, exactly. So if one, and I think we need to have another podcast, so we will wrap that up. But if you could only choose one therapy, so say it's time, say it's money, whatever it might be, and I know, again, this is a very broad, but what would that be? Would it be a sauna? Would it be a cold plunge? Like, and again, I'm giving you a hard question to answer. But just from an overall looking at it to help a person truly live well. If you say, they only had access to one thing, what would that be?
Okay, so
and answer this.
Okay. So I'm going to answer this. I think for just a singular kind of health benefit, I think sauna probably is going to have the broader impact.
Correct.
I have a bias because I really like the cold plunge and its psychological aspects.
I think there's more mental
there are
benefits
a lot of,
with cold.
because that's harder. It's pretty easy to walk into the sauna and then it gets uncomfortable.
Correct.
But that initial kind of
pleasant.
Like I've got to do, and I've done it for 13 years, and every time I have hesitation. It's like I could easily talk myself out of this. I think that's a really good exercise for people in a modern world is to do things that we don't want to do that make you uncomfortable. So that's my caveat. I think from a general health benefit, I want to be honest with people and really just give my opinion. I think it's sauna is going to have the greatest impact.
I agree.
Yeah. But the cold plunge is
mental
legit.
health, like I would love to, like just anxiety, depression.
Absolutely.
I think there's more, and this is my anecdote. I think there's more benefits from cold plunge.
I do too. If I'm having a hard day and like I have stuff and I'm trying to get stuff out and I feel a lot of anxiety, I literally will run upstairs from my office, jump in the cold plunge, do 3 minutes, and I'm reset. And I'm good to go for the rest of the day, and and it's a very powerful change for that reason.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, it's kind of like I slap myself in the face a little bit. And it feels great. So for anxiety, I love
that.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you guys for your time. This was fun, and we will have another one.
Yeah. Thanks, Kristi.
It's awesome. Yeah,
and
thank you.
I think the breathing would be a fascinating one.
I would love to spend some
time on that.
That's
just because
really important.
that is an issue for me that I need to work on. So, but anyways, I thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.